What's going on, friends? James Nguyen here with the Alpha Red Comic Channel. Let me make sure that we got the microphone in the right place here. I got to do some shuffling around. It is Labor Day Eve. Labor Day Eve. That's why we're doing an afternoon draw stream. So I apologize to my friends who meet me here at 8 p.m. on every Sunday night to do a draw stream. This is going to be one of the exceptions that happens every now and again when I want to spend time with the family in the evening. So, and I also want to make sure that I get this drawing done. Unlike last week where we only did it halfway, maybe I'll come on tomorrow and finish up that Power Rangers and Ninja Turtles picture. But for today, we're just going to jump right in because I don't expect anybody to jump right in. We're just going to talk about Redcoat. We're going to talk about Ghost Machine. We're going to talk about Brian Hitch and our man Jeff Johns. Okay, and how excited I am that Rook Exodus has been announced that it's coming back. So we're going to jump into. If you guys are not familiar with a Ghost Machine and what Jeff Johns is doing over in his corner of the Image universe, he's using Image as a publisher to distribute his universe of comics, and all of them have been good. Not as many people are talking about it, but you know what? It is what it is. You can find it. You can love it. The quality is there. If you're looking for good comics, Ghost Machine is where it's at. So this is the character known as Redcoat. Dun, 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 dun. And he's a guy that can't die. He gets immortality in the first issue number 1. And he gets it through weird means. And he's not a great guy. This character that we're supposed to follow, he's not your traditional hero. So also for this, I'm going to go straight in. I have a light layout in pencil, and I want to try doing what I heard Mr. David Finch do as an exercise. Do I have like an 005? If I have a smaller one, I'll try an 005. I think this is an 005. But he does, for his Skinbreaker comic that's coming out here shortly, he said he does it real light like this, and then he goes right in with the microns, and he lays down the lines that way. And so I'm going to try that. I've got my anatomy going, and I'm going to try my best to channel Dave Finch. So it's not gonna be like Dave Finch. So I warn you now that just be wary when I say that. I just mean that I was inspired by his interview with Rob Liefeld on the Robservations podcast. I don't know if I watched part of it on YouTube, and then I listened to it on podcast while I'm walking. So he is not this Redcoat guy is not like what you would consider a hero. He says it in there. He's kind of a coward, but he's supposed to be a charming, likable guy. And I haven't seen it yet in Redcoat number 1, and I have not been following Redcoat. I've heard only good things about Redcoat, so I am here to confirm that it is a good read, that Mr. Jeff Johns knows what he's doing as a writer, and Mr. Brian Hitch still has it as far as writing art goes. He has a much more realistic style. So I don't know if you guys are familiar with Brian Hitch, but I really fell in love with his art in the Ultimates, the Marvel Ultimates, way back in the early 2000s, and that is what Marvel used to make their Marvel Cinematic Universe, and for good reason, because his art style, Brian Hitch's art style, was very cinematic looking. He did like the letterbox kind of style. Which he continues to use here. Like, this is a big splash page, obviously, but like, wow, okay, maybe I proved myself wrong immediately. But he was using a lot of these where it was just like letterbox is how I referred to them in when it was happening in the Ultimates, where all the panels were like laid out sideways as if you were watching a movie, and it was the way he drew was very realistic, and so it lent well to the new style that he was laying his pages out in, and so that is he continues um, that tradition here as far as I can see. So David Finch, I don't know if you know who David Finch is, but he started off with Top Cow in the late 90s and then ended up over at Marvel doing New X-Men. And then I think he ended up doing Moon Knight, I think was a big run that he did. And then DC snatched him over to do Batman. And I don't know what else he did over at DC, but then he has vanished in the past 8 years or so because he's been working on this thing called Skinbreaker, singular Skinbreaker, for 8 years. So there's 8 issues coming out starting in August. And so he did an interview with Rob Liefeld this past Thursday, I believe, is when the Robservation stuff comes out. And so he shared some of his, well, Rob asked him, I'm going to refer to my reference page here because I am not familiar with Old English, what do you call it, the British uniform here. So he was a British soldier. He talks about it in the beginning of this issue, which came out in April of 2024. So you can easily find this in trade paperback, I believe, out there. But Rob Liefeld was interviewing David Finch, and Rob was asking David Finch about his process. Like, how are you drawing? Like, what does it look like for you going from layouts to finished page? What's your process? And he revealed that he draws mostly with a micron. He'll lay out real light pencils, and he'll go right in with the microns, because he's been doing it for a couple of decades, so he knows what he's doing. And he says whatever he gets wrong, he just whites it out. But the size of this micron allows him to kind of lay it out, and then when he comes in with a brush pen, he can use the lines that he laid down, or just pretty much erase on the page what lines he doesn't use. So I was inspired to hear the process, and I thought that because Redcoat has more of a realistic style, even though Brian Hitch cut his teeth on doing superhero comics, this is a very real. It has a lot of real world type artwork. So, and I had not read it at all, just because I didn't have the money to invest in all of the cool comics that were coming out. But somebody just gave me this sketch cover. I was in my local comic shop, and I asked if they had any sketch covers of Redcoat because I had gotten a request to do a sketch cover of Redcoat and Exodus, Rook Exodus, and Geiger were a request from my man, Brother Benny, who typically watches my draw streams. If you're new to the draw stream, please hit that like button for me. The algorithms, they tell me, send it out to other people who might be online, who might like this stuff, and then they can take a peek and hang out. But Brother Benny, who pops in typically every Sunday at 8 p.m. is when I normally do this. He requested it. And so I believe this is spoken for. So I did ask him to confirm that he wants this sketch cover. But if he does not want it, it can be up for sale. That's what I typically do. Is you can buy it on the cheap. Typically about $30. This will be $30 for Mr. Benny. Brother Benny. That's if he still wants it. He requested it a while ago. So, but this is what I do on this channel, just to kind of try to help inspire people. That's really the whole idea about this channel, is to inspire people to create independent comics. Hopefully I get those creative juices flowing for you, and you can join me in kind of flexing your independent kind of muscles. And so I create a comic book called Alpha Red. That is why the channel is called the Alpha Red Comic Channel, because I'm the creator of Alpha Red. Brother Benny. All right. Brother Benny says he wants this sketch. So this is spoken for, friends. But if you have a request, lay it on me, as Brother Benny has, and it comes to life. If all the stars align like this, the guy happened to be in the store at the time that I was asking my local comic book shop if they had it, and they said no, and he said yes. He's like, I have it. I bought it when it came out, and you can have it. I was like, say what? I was familiar with him. Apparently, he was familiar with me. Honestly, I did not recognize him, but we had spoken at a local comic shop, a comic show, and he said, you can have it if you want. So I said, fantastic. So I gave him a set of Alpha Red as a thank you for giving me, like, for free. He was looking for nothing, which was awesome. Awesome. I was very grateful. And so Brother Benny snatches it up for his collection. But yeah, Benny, I was saying that I was listening to the Robservations. I don't know if I popped this up for anybody who is watching on Facebook, but the latest episode of Robservations had David Finch on there, and David Finch was describing his current working style, and because he was inking his own artwork for his new book, Skinbreaker, he was pretty much drawing with the Micron pen. So it inspired me to see if I could maybe do it also. and if that would be a time saver. It was definitely not saving him time, or wasn't saving him much time, because he took 8 years to do 8 issues of Skin Breaker. So I'm digging his style of what he inspired me to do here. And so I'm trying to channel my best David Finch anyway, really here, because I want to do some really contrasty stuff, because that's what he does in his artwork. So I'm going to take this opportunity to make it more of a finished looking piece. So I'm doing it early because of Labor Day. We're doing a cookout, and my daughter has class tomorrow evening, so we can't celebrate tomorrow. Let me see. Let's do the wrinkles of this. So I will be grilling later at 8 o'clock. I hope to be outside in the backyard doing s'mores. So Brother Benny, are you prepared to go back to school? Do you guys start this week? You guys start next week? All right. That will be the layout of that. Then he says he goes in with a pen, an ink pen. He says a brush pen. And it sounds like, of course, he has, I don't want to say he has all kinds of money, and he can afford the best of the best, but he can probably afford more than what I have in my arsenal of drawing tools. So he was waving around some Japanese brush pen. And so, all right, let me do a little bit more. I think I'm probably gonna jinx myself, but I'm thinking that we have time to make it a little bit more detailed and more of a finished looking drawing, just because it's going so fast. But famous last words, you guys know that. Famous last words for me is always, hey, we should be able to finish this. We should be able to do this, that, and the other. And we run out of time. Always pins it up against at least the hour. I try to only stay on for an hour, but I did start it at 3 o'clock just in case we go over. I am the grill master today, so I do have a cutoff time of at least 5:15, because I'll put burgers on the grill. Burgers on the grill. Burgers on the grill. Did I start the song? I'm standing here. I probably didn't I didn't. You guys are just listening to me drolling on. When we could be listening to Alpha Red's theme song. I don't know if you guys know, but Alpha Red has a theme song that I play at the end of every episode. If you want to stick around, there's words to this cool tune written by Mr. John Carricks, who sadly passed away on April, I want to say it was April 23rd. I don't even like to talk about it, honestly, because I'm still so sad. He was only 63. And maybe if you're a young guy, you're like, oh man, 63 is so old. But as a 50-year-old guy, and a guy who hung out with John recently, before he passed, before he twisted his leg, he went into the hospital to get some kind of work done on that twisted leg, twisted knee, jammed knee or something, and he never came out. So it's shocking to me, because he was into so much, and he had a lot of irons in the fire. And but yeah, that's my 2 cents on the Alpha Red theme song. So if you hang out long enough, or if you don't want to hang out, but you catch this on the repeat, or you can go to any previous episode of Sunday Night Draw Stream, and you should be able to listen to the words of the Alpha Red theme song. But that's what's playing in the background here. So if you are a fan of Dave Finch, you know that he does it like no other as far as contrast. Like, he does these really stark contrast lines, and it's like magical. It works so well. It works so well. So interesting to look at. And he does have a YouTube channel where he teaches you like his thought process behind the drawings. So if you are an artist and you are looking for like a solid tutorial on how to draw interesting images, I would highly, highly, highly suggest you go to Mr. Dave Finch's YouTube channel and get yourself a pen and a pencil. I mean, a pencil and paper. Pen and a pencil. You should do that too, because he does go from pencil to pen. And you will be taught how to make regular pictures amazing. Turn regular pictures into amazing pictures, just because of his dynamic thought process when he attacks a picture. So we'll lay down like what I hope to be like the big contrasting shadows and stuff. And then we'll come in and render, and then we'll come in and use some whiteout if I make any mistakes, and see if we can't turn this into a $30 well spent for Mr. Benny. But still come in on time, either on the hour or shortly after. And then I can fire up the grill. Fire up the grill. So I don't know if you guys are following any of the Ghost Machine stuff, but it's top notch. I don't know if you guys are just jumping in, but it is a universe, or at least a collection of comics that is mostly written by Jeff Johns, who was a huge writer over at DC. And I don't know how they lost him, honestly. They need him. They got Scott Snyder back, though, and he's doing some good stuff on Absolute Batman. But they could use some better writers over there. None of this stuff. It's all so boring. I don't know do we have superhero fatigue? I mean, I like superheroes. I like heroic things. Maybe it could be a mix of all kinds of different kinds of superheroes or stories, whether it's sci-fi or mystery or horror, but set in the superhero genre. Superheroes are just a genre. It's just superheroic stuff, but stories are stories. You know, if you're trying to build a good story, you want there's certain aspects of a story that make it good, keep it compelling, keeps the reader engaged and the pages flipping. And then when they close the comic, they can't wait for the next one. They want more and more and more. And there's certain people who do it really well, and certain people who wish they could do it well. But you should be able to do it in any genre. Should be. That's the key. So we're just going to throw in a bunch of these big spot blacks so that when we go back, we can do the nuanced stuff. And if we throw in too many lines, we'll take them out with some whiteout, like Dave Finch does. Like Mr. Dave Finch does. Now, I do like hearing how some of the really good artists work through like a page or a picture. You know, just what are they thinking when they're composing an image? Like for me, for this, he just is on the run a lot. Like he's not an honest guy, so he's always being chased, it seems. Like this is the big one. Was it this page? Yeah. So like this is the big double page. You know, he's running away from fellow soldiers and stuff because he's just not a loyal, trustworthy type person. And he's just interesting because he can't die. Doesn't mean he doesn't get killed. He apparently gets killed a lot just because he does stuff that warrants his death. So that is, I mean, it's well written, and apparently it gets better and better. He becomes more and more likable. I hope so. I mean, he's not bad, but there's like nothing. He's just he kind of uses people, and he's been doing it for over 100 years in the first issue here. So the first issue kind of tells you how he got his immortality, but then also that he still has not really learned his lesson from all the times that he's died and come back to life. He's not someone who has become better. You know, it reminds me of Groundhog Day. Are you fans of Groundhog Day? I mean, I watched it. I don't know how many times I've watched it. It's been a while since I've watched it, to be honest. But I mean, he eventually becomes a better person, right? Better and better. Bill Murray becomes a better and better person, and he ends up. Does he end up being the mayor or something of Punxsutawney? I forget if, but he becomes well loved by the end of the movie because he's become a good guy. He starts caring about other people, and he does so much for that town within that one day that keeps repeating because he knows everybody so well. So that is the opposite of what Redcoat seems to be. He's like, been doing it for 100 years, for over a century, and still taking advantage of people, getting in trouble, and ends up getting killed often. So, and he talks to you about that, and he tells you about that, how how used to it he is now, getting killed and waking back up. So you guys doing anything fun for Labor Day? Leave that in the comments if you're watching late, if you're catching this later on the rerun. I do apologize to any of my normal guys, my regulars. I didn't know what the plan was for the weekend. I thought my daughter had off for her class, her evening class, but apparently she does not. And so we are going to have a cookout tonight instead of tomorrow. So that's why we're doing this early. But normally, 8 p.m. on a Sunday evening. Sunday. And once I get done with the one project that I'm working on, so I'm working on a couple of projects. Work-wise, I have a big project that I'm completing in my day job as an insurance salesman. Working on a big project. But I'm also working on an art project that I'm getting paid for. And as much as I am excited about that, I really want to get back to Alpha Red. Kind of put Alpha Red on pause to fundraise for Alpha Red by picking up this art work, this work that I'm getting paid for. But the longer I'm away from the Alpha Red story, the more I resent this. I resent taking the project. Does that make sense? Is that fair? Is that fair to say? And no shade on the project. It's something that I'm excited to do. It's an Advent project. It's a book. I'm doing some artwork to help tell the story of Advent. And it gives me a good excuse to put my artwork, use my artwork to, glorify God, to, I don't know, do things that I believe in, I don't know how to explain it. How, I'm a Christian and I should do more artwork that points to Christ and Christianity, but I love my superheroes. So taking on this project, this Advent project, was felt like a no-brainer, honestly. I was like, of course I'll do that. And I'm going to enjoy it and all that stuff. But the farther I am away from doing my comic Alpha Red, the more I'm like, I don't think I'll ever do this again. I don't think I'll take on another big project like this where it's going to take me 2 months to kind of accomplish. So I'm a little sad about that. Sad that I can't work on Alpha Red. Sad. But what are you going to do? I made a promise, and I'll just work through my obligation, and then hopefully I can get back to Alpha Red with enough time that I can maybe finish it. Maybe finish the next issue number 8, by the end of this year. That was the goal, was to get at least 2 comics done this year. And I was on course for it. I got 1 done in, I got it done in 5 months. So I underestimated how much work the crowdfunding stuff was. And I didn't hit goal. But I made enough money to finish. I forgot. I was going to do more of a more of a Dave Finch style, like with a contrast in this leg here. So it's going to be much darker over here, just to push the leg back, like up here where I push the forearm farther back. I want to push this leg a little farther back. And then if it doesn't look good, apparently Mr. Dave Finch says you can just white it out. No problem. No problem. And so it apparently helped him with his confidence in the page and what he was doing. But yeah. Alrighty. All right, let's go. Let's make sure that all these dark spots are intentionally dark. And then if we want to lighten some of them up, we can definitely do that with the whiteout part of it. Let me see. I do have some of these. I re-upped on the supply of my Pilot. Let me see. Is it Pilot? Yep, Pilot. Precise V5 rolling ball pens, which I rediscovered here recently. If you watch the channel, you know that I'm back on board. So let's use this as some of the finer detail. I'm using the 5, which is the smaller one. The other size is the 7. So let's see if I can build a little bit of contrast without overdoing it. That's my problem. When I go for something, I tend to go either not enough or too much. So let's see if I can manage to balance it. Balance. You know, Benny, I was looking at a picture of not Jeff Johns. Who's the Geiger guy? Gary Frank. I was like, I never knew what Gary Frank looked like, but this is Gary Frank here. And I was like, yep, that looks like a Gary Frank. This looks like the guy who would draw like Gary Frank draws. So I don't know if that's a fair thing to say, but when I saw that was who Gary Frank was, he's down here, I was like, yep, Gary Frank looks like he draws like the guy who draws Geiger. Like there's something in his drawings that I don't want to say it looks like him, but you know, for a lot of these Ghost Machine artists, I thought it was funny to see them and go, wait a minute, they kind of actually look like their art style. Now Brian Hitch is he looks like a chubbier. He looks more like Chris Claremont, John Byrne. John Byrne I don't think is heavy, but I think Chris Claremont is on the heavier side. And so Brian Hitch looks like Chris Claremont. So his drawings sometimes look like it. Like if you look at Brian Hitch and you look at the turnaround he does for Redcoat here, definitely looks like definitely looks like Brian Hitch as the artist of that turnaround. He's a little dumpier, like throughout the comic. He's definitely more heroic looking, but in the turnaround there, I was like, okay, now I know what Brian Hitch looks like, and he kind of looks like the guy who would have drawn that Redcoat turnaround. So this is going to be pretty successful, I think, as far as finishing on time. Feeling good about it. Maybe I'll turn it off and turn back on and try to finish the Ninja Turtles Power Rangers from last week, just so that I can have like a part 2 to that, and it's not just attached to the end of this Redcoat drawing. What do you say? What do you say, Benny? What do you say? Because I don't want to overdo it, honestly. I don't want to just keep pecking away and then just overdoing it. Always a fear of mine. Always a fear of overdoing it. I always come back and noodle with it if I don't think it's quite done. And sometimes that improves it. Sometimes it does not. All right. What do you think, Benny? I hate to call it quits on the picture if it took me under an hour, but I did spend probably 10 minutes beforehand. Throwing down the layout. So definitely got a solid hour here of work on the picture. But hopefully you guys are going to have a fantastic Labor Day. This is always the official end to summer. And that makes a lot of students unhappy because they have to go back to school. But c'est la vie. Such is life. That's life. You end up places that you don't want to be sometimes. You end up places you don't want to be. All right. I think I'm going to call it quits. Just going to give it a signature here. Oh, I forgot. I wanted to recommend. Hang on. I don't know if you guys are fans of the Rippaverse. You don't have to be a fan of the Rippaverse or Yellow Flash to enjoy this book. The story was really good. So it's like a mix of Indiana Jones versus plus Rocketeer with a mix of Power Rangers and what was the fourth thing that I kind of there's a little MCU Iron Man-ish in there, but it was a really enjoyable story. It read really fast. Didn't take me long to read it. That's actually one of the complaints, is that the value for how much I paid for it. It's a $17 book, and then plus shipping. So to get it to me, it was like $25. So I don't know that it's even worth the $17 value, but it was an enjoyable book. And if you were on the fence, if you thought it looked cool and wanted to check it out, but wanted some confirmation that it was going to be worth looking at. The second, I would say yes. I would say the story was, like, if it was a scale of 1 to 10, the story makes up maybe, so I'd give it like a 7. The story would be most of it. The artwork is pretty good, for sure. I'm not trying to hate on, what's his name? John Dillard. It's too big. You don't want giant signature there. Take up the picture. But John Dillard, you can tell, is more of an independent artist. He's not like a Marvel, like a big two quality artist. So some of the storytelling suffers a little bit because of that. It gets a little confusing because of the giant robots, the giant mech robots that I can't tell are good guys or bad guys. Some of the poses that should be like holy smokes, this is like the money shot, are not very money shot-ish, to be honest. And I mean, I am guilty of having some of those too, where I'm like, this is it. This is posterific right here. I'm just gonna do a pose and it's gonna knock it out of the park. And then as hard as I try, it just comes out kind of mid. And then, you know, you got to hit deadline, so you just move on. And then you always go back and you go, oh man, that could have been, what could have been. But there's a couple of those in the Golden Patriot from the Ripacen, from the good old Ripacen. Well, there it is, guys. There it is. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I'm going to turn it off. It looks like I have some time. I might flip back and do the remaining drawing of the Power Rangers Ninja Turtles sketch cover that I did, that I started last week. So thanks for joining me, Benny. I hope you dig it. I don't know if you want to hold off. I did ask my local comic shop to get me the Splinter, the Shredder cover, and they had it, and then they sold it. They forgot that it was for me, so they sold it, and so they're getting me another one. So that's why we're not doing that this week. But if you can hold off until next week, we can do that next week, and then I can save on some shipping. So you let me know if you gotta have it. I'll send this out. But if not, we'll wait and ship them together. But until next time, thank you for hanging out. Sorry for the guys who typically hang out with me at 8 o'clock. I did it a little early, but I am going to jump right back on and finish up the Ninja Turtles and Power Rangers comics. So until next time, everybody, till 8 o'clock on a Sunday, meet me there. All right. So until next time, grace and peace. We are out.
From the shadows he rises with courage in his heart, a beacon of hope. He's ready to start with faith as his armor and a fire in his soul. Alpha Red stands tall, fulfilling his role. Alpha Red, the hero we need. With the power of faith, he'll always succeed. Fighting darkness, he'll never dread. For the world is safe with Alpha Red. Red. In a world full of chaos, where evil may lurk, he fights for the righteous, his mission and work. Guided by God, with strength from above, he battles the darkness with unyielding love. Alpha Red, the hero we need. With the power of faith, he'll always succeed. Fighting darkness, he'll never dread. For the world is safe with Alpha Red. Alpha Red. When the night seems too long and hope seems so far, look to the skies, you'll see his bright star. With a prayer and a promise, he faces the fight. Alpha Red shines through, the beacon of light. Alpha Red, the hero we need. With the power of faith, succeed. Fighting darkness, he'll never dread, for the world is safe with Alpha Red. So stand tall with courage, let your faith lead the way. With Alpha Red beside us, we'll see a brighter day. For evil may tremble, but never forget, the world is protected by our hero, Alpha Red. Alpha Red. Alpha Red.